Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Cassie.
Hi, creepy people.
And friend there. Hello.
It's your favorite sandworm friend back again.
Yeah.
With his Beetlejuice. We're just in love. It's fine. Leave us alone.
Okay.
This is P&W Haunts and Homicides, where we chat about true crime, the paranormal, and all things spooky in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, that'll be fun later.
What?
In post. I was like, ooh.
Oh, because you were
hit a high note.
I was trying to be like the ghost from Beetlejuice.
Ooh. Yeah, they're very like melodic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. We also do a little tarot reading in every episode to give you a little bit of deeper insight into our topic for the episode.
That we did. And this episode, we did a tarot reading in a pretty cool place that we will talk about here at the end.
Site.
Yes, it was very cool. And it worked. Totally worked.
Obviously.
We took the tarot out of the normal tarot altar zone and we did it.
It was fun.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
So we're going to tell you all about what we did.
What did we do?
We went on a Portland ghost tour.
Yeah, we did.
In downtown Portland. And they will link it for you, but that's ran by the U.S. Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
No, it's not Bagel Bites. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not that Ghost Adventures. Yeah. It's a different Ghost Adventures, guys.
Yeah. Other people like adventures and ghosts. Okay.
Yes. There is 3 tours that they currently have: Poltergeists and Psychopaths.
Ooh.
Booze. Oh, sorry. Like booze, and booze, but that's like a podcast. Booze and Booze Haunted Pub Crawl.
Ooh.
And Portland Ultimate Dead of Night Tour.
Ooh.
And those are offered daily, year round. You do have to like book in advance, obviously.
They're year round. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you missed it for spooky season, you can go for unspooky season, or you can wait till next year. But
it's not too late.
Ghosts are fun any time of year. So we got to go on kind of a mix of these tours just to get a little sample, a little taste tester of them. And our wonderful tour guide, Lori, who you will get to know pretty well by the end of this episode, took us around. She's a fantastic storyteller. It was so much fun getting to learn all of this crazy history about Portland that obviously that's why I kind of do this podcast, is to learn more about the Pacific Northwest, more about my area. But it was really cool, specifically Portland, where I'm from.
Yeah. I mean, and she really had a pretty interesting and like a wide breadth of different knowledge about periods of time in Portland and just kind of cool historical facts. And I mean, it's interesting to learn so much about a place that we've lived here all our lives pretty much.
And to get to walk around and like really look at things, really look at the buildings instead of just like walking by, you get that. Yeah. What's that called? Tunnel vision. And you just don't really look at anything. But when you're like looking at it and then like looking up, because all the buildings are so tall and beautiful. So that was cool.
There were a few that I'm like, we have definitely, I'm sure both of us at certain points been in these areas and maybe like near these buildings, or in the case of like, spoiler alert, Kells, like I've definitely been there to that location specifically. And obviously I've known about like kind of some of the spookiness there, but really going in and like focusing on that when you're visiting, it's a whole different experience.
Had you ever been down to the cigar room before?
Yeah, I think I had, just really like, oh, you're here, so you like go and see it. I think it was maybe on my 21st birthday.
Oh,
that's when I learned.
That's a bad time to go down and smell all those cigars.
Yeah, that part of it was regrettable.
It's stanky.
Yeah. I remember feeling like both nights, our tour and, after I went on my 21st birthday, it was like, I need to go home and shower.
Yeah.
I feel like even if you like cigars, it's pungent.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I had been down there because I'd been on the Booze and Booze haunted pub crawl like years and years and years ago.
Of course you had.
And so, yeah, we went down there, but it was actually full of people that were smoking cigars when we got to walk through. So it was empty when we went through. So it was cool to like hang out in there for a little bit and kind of look around more because it's a cool space.
It is. Yeah. I feel like the timing of our tour, we hit a lot of the places that we were trying to visit, and it was like optimal timing to where it wasn't like their busiest time of the evening. Like Kells is definitely, it depends on like if it's St. Patty's Day, they're going to be popping all day, every day for probably like a week around the holiday. Yeah. But like normally they're kind of like I feel like a late night spot.
They were popping upstairs with they had live music going, and that was really fun to record. We'll have some of that in the video for you because we took footage the entire time.
Yeah, seriously. Always be recording.
Yes, and we were.
Yeah.
So we started off at the Benson Hotel. We walked in. We went straight to the bar, and then we were like, oh, wait, did we pass someone that said U.S. Ghost Adventures on their shirt? Was that Lori? So we did. And then she was like, yeah, okay, go get drinks. You're going to need them, and we'll start the tour. And you had commented, like when we first walked in, we were looking around. Do you remember what you said about it? Like what it looked like?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we walk in, and it's like everything about it is very like grand in terms of scale, and like the finishes are just like absolutely gorgeous.
So pretty.
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. But we're walking in, and it's like just like the highest end and most beautiful like marble and stone and wood. I mean,
the wood.
Oh, it is gorgeous. But then you come to kind of their grand staircase where you would like be walking up that towards like guest rooms on the one side. And there's also a massive, like ornate gold frame mirror.
Yes. Which we do get a story about later.
Yeah. Like I don't even have a single wall in my apartment that would be big enough for like half of it.
God, how heavy do you think that thing is?
My God. I feel like, did they crane that in? Like they built that one wall, craned that in, and then kept building the building. Like
I don't know.
It's massive. It's got to be super heavy. But anyway, so it's like that gorgeous, beautiful kind of curved staircase. Just that is where you make an entrance, my girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whew.
I wanted to put on some prom dresses and walk down those stairs so bad.
I know. And it turns out you were picking up on kind of the same vibe as me, I feel like, with that comment. Because I was like, this reminds me of the Titanic. Mm-hmm. This is exactly like when Rose is like walking down this set of stairs.
Yeah.
The vibe is, I mean, aesthetically, all of the things.
It really was. And then to make that creepier, that comment, when was the Benson built?
In 1912.
When did the Titanic sink?
In 1912.
So weird. So there was that kind of synchronistic connection.
Yeah.
With the dates and on that. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
We had the reputation of being the rowdiest, raunchiest, cowboy frontier town. At the same time, we were considered the world's most wickedest, evil seaport city, and we're like 80 miles from the Pacific Ocean. This is the story of how we got that reputation. So 1912, when this hotel was built, Simon Benson had been wealthy for years and years and years. He came here. He was integral in turning this city into the beautiful icon of architecture and of this day. At the same time, his wife, who was a lifelong teetotaler, the same thing with Mr. Benson, they were part of the temperance and prohibition movements here in Portland. Now, in this hotel, champagne kind of wasn't really considered alcohol.
I've heard this before
Yeah.
about the era.
Yeah.
And I completely
Yes.
agree.
Because, right?
Yeah.
Champagne.
It's just bubbles, you guys.
Exactly. Bubbles in water, expensive bubbles in water. So the average person never tasted champagne. So already that's a rarefied thing to have, and nobody in their right mind would ever get into their cups drinking champagne. So there was, at a time, people thought you couldn't get drunk on champagne, but of course you can,
It
and
can be
people
done.
did, yes. But we have to have those little grains so that you're setting up that, wow, there's the haves and the have-nots, and they're just hitting us right
Jack
out of
and
the
Rose.
gate. Yep.
Yes.
So,
Right back to the Titanic. I'm going to keep taking it
that's
there.
right. So up here, Simon has been seen in his adult, older form. Now, he did not die here in the hotel. He died back east at a very old age.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is obviously his baby. This was kind of his pet project.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could
yeah.
see where he might end up
He
back
is,
here.
yes. He
I'd be here
is
too.
very proud, and he is still proud of this place, as is, he'll kind of, listen in. Now, at the time that he had this hotel, that lounge, the Palm Court, or any drinking was not allowed. There was no alcohol served here. Now, this was where beautiful weddings, very important business meetings and things happened. So I'm not saying there were no alcohol here, but this is also during the time when Portland started their prohibition earlier by
Yes.
decades than the
Yeah.
rest of the United States. And here in Portland, it was very important that we controlled alcohol and things. And so that's a lot of this story. So Benson is seen on the mezzanine here, dressed in full tie and tails, as he would have dressed in the evening dinners. And he stands either there looking over into the
Divider.
lobby.
Yeah.
Now this is after his death, a year after his death, when the building was sold, settled, and they started serving alcohol, is when he started being seen up here on the mezzanine.
Do you think he disapproved?
Yeah, he does,
Really?
because
Oh,
he's
Simon!
also been seen at the far end over there, over on the floor in the lobby, leaning up against that one pillar I showed you and asked if you felt anything weird. So if you are drinking and you see him, he's a full-bodied apparition, and he is not happy. He will be stern looking.
Simon, I love
if you
your
are
building, but-
holding a drink, it will feel, it'll just slide out of your hand.
No, alcohol abuse.
If your drink is precariously,
It's going off so much.
Yeah, this thing responds to stories.
Simon, we're so
I mean, I need
sorry.
you to
If
just have a little bit of chill.
You have
okay?
your drink close to the edge, it'll walk its way off the corner of the table. Or if it's on the table, you could be talking and it's as though you or somebody knocked it over. And
I
that's,
would never.
if you've seen him and he's scowling at you, I would imagine, especially young ladies, is wag a finger, wag a finger.
I
I'm
feel
not
like
a fan of that.
Yeah,
I feel like I have to chug this before he
Right.
rips it out of my hands. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you again, Lori. How have you been since our ghost tour?
Thank you. Me too. I've been great. And because now it's the Halloween season, my last couple pub crawls I do in costume. So,
Oh, that is
yeah.
so fun.
yeah, Lori Haunts is a gal from the 1970s that had a tragic disco accident that culminated with her wandering the streets outside in the Benson Hotel and in the lobby with her giant spider, Hugo. So,
that's hilarious. I love that. I wish we could have seen that.
I know. So I'm gonna get some pictures and things, and I may debut another character tonight, or that might be this Saturday. They're, the Halloween brings out the characters in me.
Yeah, me too. I totally get that.
Awesome.
At the very beginning, when we went into the Benson, when we were downstairs, you were telling a story of the Fae, a Fae entity. And I know Caitlin wanted to hear about that, and definitely about the wood, all of the fancy Titanic woodwork that she called it in the hotel.
Perfect. Because the wood and the Fae are reported to be together. So one of the rumors why the beautiful Benson Hotel in downtown Portland is rumored to be so haunted is because the wood, that distinctive black walnut, is now rare, so rare that it's rumored to be extinct. It was owned by the Tsars of Russia. It's a Circassian black walnut that for centuries was grown in the Russian imperial forests and was used to build the Tsars' hunting lodges, their castles, any buildings of prominence. So when Simon Benson became a wealthy, wealthy man many, many times over, and in 1912, when he decided that he wanted to open a grand hotel that was the epitome of old world charm and class in the center of the new world of a modern Pacific Northwest city, which all of our city fathers intended Portland to be. The Benson Hotel does not disappoint. So whether you live in Portland or visit, you will not find a friendlier hotel. So come through the doors. The amazement starts as you go through the glass and brass revolving doors that are unique, and everything is original to the building, the hotel, as it opened. So when you go into the Italian marble lined floor of the lobby, you immediately are surrounded by this gorgeous, beautiful wood. You're bathed in the crystal rainbow glows of the Italian cut crystal chandeliers. You see the Italianate pressed tin motif, three-dimensional ceilings, and everything from the German gold gilt huge mirror up the gorgeous Titanic era stairs to the mezzanine. You are surrounded and immersed by the ghosts and the spirit of 1900s Portland, and you feel it. And that is what is so cool about Portland's Benson Hotel. Now, in the mid-1980s, it was reported that the Imperial Russian forest suffered some type of a blight, either a weevil or some type of wood-boring pesticide, that the last of these Circassian black walnut trees sickened and died. Roughly about that time, there's been an increase in some paranormal activity, particularly the appearance of what appears to be a fey creature. Now, a fey creature is a forest creature. It never has been human, never will be human. Every culture and society has one. They're known as leprechauns and fairies and sprites, brownies, and all kinds of things. So some can be outright evil, some can be helpful, some can be tricksters. The fae that appears at the Benson appears to be a benign trickster, tends to appear in the middle of the night when you are either sleeping and your partner next to you is asleep and doesn't rouse, or you're in a room by yourself and your traveling companion leaves for a few minutes. Once again, you're left in the room by yourself. You turn around and you notice this charming, adorable child that's about 3 years old. And you can just imagine, especially if it's in the middle of the night, you have this cute, chubby cheek little kid in the middle of your hotel room. And, you know, they're adorable. You want to help them, and they're creepy as hell.
I was going to say, they're probably still creepy, even if they're cute.
Exactly. You know,
in the middle of the night.
Exactly. So that's why the haunting is something that shares that in common with the reports that I've heard. Is it tends to happen to women who have had children or have children around that age, so that when they wake up, they see this child, and instead of reacting in panic or horror, they want to comfort and reach out. So the women that have reported that they've touched the child report at first that it appears warm, solid, but either immediately turns icy cold, or there's some sensation where you let go right away. Now the child immediately giggles and starts laughing. Okay, creepy, but okay. And then does the little peekaboo thing.
Okay.
So women tend to do the peekaboo thing, and now we're giggling. And everybody who's been around creepy children or any children know you get them to do peekaboo, and then you can get them to tell you, okay, who are you, where you're from, scream for help, something like that, but you got them engaging in something. So every time you do the peekaboo, the second time, now the smile is bigger. It's kind of morphing into something. There's glints in the eyes that they seem a little bit larger than before. And with the smile that couldn't be the tips of fangs. No, no, no. If you make it to the third peekaboo, then all the questions are gone. It then looks like a gremlin. I've only heard that, so I'm assuming it's like that 1990s, gremlins, the sprite, the mean one, or just something that obviously is, ugh. Now, take it from me. If you are ever in the situation where you're in bed and you're faced with something, there are just some metaphysical rules and laws that are immutable. And if you want something to leave you alone, you say or think it, leave me alone, take your blankets, cover your head, close your eyes, keep them closed, thinking of Christmas until it's all over. But what happens in this case, and you won't be able to wake up anybody if they're sleeping next to you, but in that case, you cover your head, you will feel the entity, it doesn't touch you, but move as though down the bed to the foot, and then within a few moments, you feel it dissipate as though it ascends up or out of the room or something of that nature. So that's why we think it could be Rasputin, who was prominently connected with Tsar Nikolai II's family. That was the Tsar that was in power when Simon Benson, who was internationally known and famous for being wealthy lumberman, had the money, power, and influence to contract with, the Imperial Russian forests to get what is now reported to be the largest collection of this extinct, or certainly very rare, Circassian black walnut outside of Russia. From what I've heard and understood, many samples were destroyed in the Russian Revolution. The hunting palaces, lodges, those things were torn down for souvenirs, that kind of thing. I don't know necessarily if that's true, but that's the fake connection from old Russia. And Tsar Nikolai's family was shot and killed during the revolution and things. And so if you're a Russian fae and you want to get back to your enchanted Rasputin wood, hey, the Benson's the place to do it. And I guarantee you walk into that lobby, whether you wear tennis shoes or tiaras, you're welcome and you don't want to leave.
Yeah. It is so welcoming in there. There's that beautiful
cool?
Bar right when you walk in.
Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool? Simon Benson, I am convinced he eavesdrops on my tours through there. And the EMF, when I'm talking about him especially, or his hotel, it flutters like... It does. It does, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then it's like he walks away like, okay, but he's keeping an eye on me.
Yeah, I think we kind of scared him away a little bit. We were loud, crazy drinking women.
Yes. This is the time of year where, think about it, a very powerful and influential man like Simon Benson and all of the movers and shakers in Portland, especially the 1912s, 1924s, when you're talking about spiritualists, suffragettes, socialites, and all of that kind of spooky stuff. It would maybe make him a little nervous.
Yeah. We're a different breed nowadays.
Yes.
I was also going to say, before we move on from the Benson, that I'm a person who likes to touch things and kind of feel and absorb its energy if I can. So I highly recommend just putting a hand on one of the wooden pillars and just feeling the energy, and also looking at them, because you could see faces in the wood patterns. It's so interesting.
Yep. And it's like I told you, going up the stairway to the mezzanine, you feel some cool spots. And the fact that I've been a tour guide and have had the blessing of being in the Benson weekly, sometimes several times a week, that it's always welcoming. I feel energies there. There is nothing scary, but there are many haunting things there that are cool to feel. And they're like the travelers of today, only through yesterday. Besides, all of the staff and the stories it's just a super cool place, It
is.
Just, yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where you're not really sure if you can just go and visit without being a guest there.
Yes.
But you totally can. There's a bar.
Yes.
You can hang out in the lobby. I mean, don't be disruptive and disrespectful, but
absolutely,
you can absolutely go in.
Absolutely. It is so unique of what unfortunately now is modern, where, a lot of places will have, uh, code locks on the door and things like that. Now, this just goes to that the Benson Hotel is our presidential hotel and has been hosting every president since Taft. So they're used to providing old world charm with modern conveniences and security and things. I've never had any disruption or problems around there. And you walk in off the street, you can go into their Palm Court Lounge and have a beer or a pop or a microbrew, have your Portland experience, whether you stay there or not. You are free to walk around the lobby. They have a 12-story, in essence, historical library that you can take the elevator all the way up to the 12th floor, and in the stairway, walk 12 floors down. But you see the presidential gallery, you see the celebrities that have gone through the doors. Where this place was in Portland history, Northwest history, it boggles your mind. It boggles your mind.
We're going to have to go back.
You have to go back. You have to do it with me, because I'm the gal to get you into all the fun nooks and crannies.
Absolutely. We love the nooks and crannies around here.
One of the cool ghosts and haunts here is a room attendant, a floor attendant.
Oh, interesting.
So this has happened over the years. The best version of the story that I heard happened to a gentleman. So there's been photographic evidence of a room attendant type employee around here. So that's what leads me to believe it was a male guest and a male floor attendant. Okay. So this male guest, and this happened around 1990-ish or something.
Okay.
He was
windbreakers.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that? Members only jackets. You know? Yeah.
I'm catching. Yeah.
Yeah. Ralph Polo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. So the gentleman needed help getting into bed. Now he could change and dress himself, of course, but his left leg was weak, so when he got into bed, he could swing his right leg up, but he just couldn't swing his left leg up. So he had that thought, oh, did I arrange when I checked in? He couldn't remember. He's dressed in his pajamas, and then he hears two brisk knocks. Yes, and in walks a floor attendant. Oh my goodness, I was just thinking about you. Thank you so much.
Aww.
The attendant just nods his head and sweeps towards the bed. And so the gentleman went over. So he sat himself down. He swung his right leg up. And so, as if he'd been doing it every day of his life, the room attendant just easily took his leg and gently propped it up, stood back. So now the guy, you know how when you first get into bed and then you just kind of bun walk yourself to, a little bit closer and get yourself, okay? So he did that, and he looked away, took himself, and as he looked up, he saw the back of the attendant going out the room door. And he thought, well, he's, busy guy. This is the time of night that he'd be doing that sort of thing. Had a wonderful rest, wakes up, goes to check out. You guys know the end of this story.
Do we? It's the
Yes.
reason why I put the do not disturb on, and I have to beat the chain.
Yes, because when the gentleman went down and he wanted to make a point to say how much he appreciated that
course.
service of
Yeah.
the floor attendant. The person downstairs at the desk says, "What?
I'm sorry,
floor
what is
attendant?"
this?
Yeah. Excuse me, sir.
Crazy person say what?
Exactly. And so he described the person and things, and they haven't had those floor attendants since the 1950s.
Yeah.
And the
course they haven't.
uniform he was wearing is very distinctive, and the I believe there's pictures of staff, group pictures of staff in that stairway kind of a thing, but one of the bartenders has gotten a photo of
Stop
this
it.
entity,
Stop
and
it.
it's the same as what this person saw. So Simon Benson has been seen in a younger form, in a lumberjack form, down below the where some of the convention rooms are, but
A
tucked
lumberjack?
back in a corner
Oh, God.
where they keep the alcohol for the bar and things. And so one of the bartenders.
Oh, you mentioned lumberjack and alcohol, and
Yeah.
she actually can't hear you now.
I'm like a lumberjack.
So
I'm into lumberjacks.
she's not hearing a word that you're saying.
Because the flannel is cozy,
Exactly.
cuddly. What's not to love?
They got the beards.
That
It's just a
and-
whole vibe.
Oh, lumberjacks, they just smell like one giant air freshener. So, let's do it.
Smell like wood.
You smell like a man. So, when Simon Benson appears as a lumberjack, he's like in his 20s, very younger, but he will be seen walking, striding purposely through a door that leads to a storage where they just keep chairs and banquet tables and
Oh, sure,
things
sure.
like
All of
that
the
and
event
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe back originally there could be a pass-through or
Sure.
something. So,
Well, I mean, the
yeah.
building has been renovated so many times
Yeah.
at that point, too.
Yeah, but the actual building itself has not changed.
Yeah.
So with the renovations, everything is exactly how it is today as when it was built back then.
Wow.
So that's where all of this wood, all of this marble, all of this crystal, that can
All of my
soak
favorite things.
up
It
the
is.
metaphysical stuff. Now,
So we were talking about while we were standing at the bar
Mm-hmm.
grabbing a drink. You're like, it's really warm in here, and I was like, I feel like that happens in a lot of older buildings when there's this much like wood paneling and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, because I think it holds in a lot of the humidity and just
it can, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm also a believer too that everybody says, "Oh, it's a cold spot because they're
don't-
converting the heat from the air or that energy,
Yeah.
and that's leaving it." But what
Not
can't
necessarily.
we say that they're also manipulating the heat?
Yeah.
right. I feel like sometimes
You know.
it's like a stuffiness that
Yeah,
I get.
yeah.
More
That's
like,
a heaviness.
Oh, now
yes.
I'm struggling to draw
Yes.
breath. Like,
yes.
yeah.
That makes more
I
sense.
feel like I'm
So
in Florida, and that's
Exactly.
a nightmare.
it's moist and thick.
Yes.
That's a good
Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
put it. Yeah.
Sorry, we said
So,
moist.
there's only one stairway on this end when many of the hotels would have two stairways.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have anything going to the rooms up there, so I'm assuming that was just by, design and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But you feel like an elegant grand lady. Imagine going down in your ball gown or so. So I start feeling kind of odd stuff around here, like it's cool.
I start feeling like I'm a gorgeous redhead from Ireland.
And so now we're going to tell the story of the lady in turquoise. So nobody really knows if Mr. Benson knew the history of this mirror, but he did find it in Germany. It's gorgeous, and he brought it from Germany to here. So shortly after installing this, what they would see is a beautiful woman in a turquoise gown. Sometimes they would notice as she's coming down the stairs, but oftentimes she just would seem to appear here. Now, this
Lady floats.
this grand mirror, you can just imagine your beautiful gowns that are being admired, and you are, preening a little bit, which she does. And so then she will either turn and walk down the stairs, disappearing about there, or she turns and walks into the mirror where you will see her. Now she will pirouette and turn and then walk on. If she walks down here, you do not see her reflection in the mirror.
Oh.
What's that all about?
It's a really great question.
I know, and I don't have an answer for you.
So then we go outside and we go hear the story of the bubblers, which I did not know were actually called Benson bubblers.
Yeah.
We always just call them bubblers.
Bubblers.
They're little water fountains all over Portland. So you can get a little free drink if you're parched.
Drankety drank.
I had never put these gorgeous lips on the bubblers before because
you're not supposed to. Don't put your lips on it.
Well, I mean, on the water, whatever. I never got my lips close to the bubblers before. Because they are public water fountains. Water fountains. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
And that just seems really gross to me. But Caitlin did it. She was very parched. And I was like, well, solidarity. If she gets really sick, I'm getting sick too. I'm going to go in and tongue this thing and just see what it's all about. And I did it. And we both lived.
Yeah, we're still here.
We're here.
I mean, for now.
To tell the tale of how we sucked from the Benson bubblers.
Oh boy, that's a lot. That is a lot.
But it is really cool. It's really nice
Yeah.
to have like a fresh water source for people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like more cities should have that. I mean, obviously during COVID times,
Did they turn them off during COVID?
I feel like that's my recollection. I'm not sure. Now I'm like
Google
curious.
it.
Should I Google that?
Yeah.
So my research indicates that yes, in fact, they did in apparently a very historic move turn the Benson bubblers off. Here's the thing. They turned them off like basically the same day that the stay-at-home orders were issued. So that was like March 13th. They were trying to stop the spread of COVID-19. And then just over a month later in April 17th, 2020, they were turned back on again.
Oh,
At the recommendation of the Multnomah County Health Department.
that seems like COVID was still really rampant.
Pretty-
That's what I'm trying to say.
Pretty rampant.
Pretty rampant.
She was thick.
Wow. Interesting. But I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. Like people do rely on those for
And
fresh water.
I was going to say, it's exactly what you said kind of originally, that it's like, it's such a critical thing in cities. And I think there are a ton of cities that don't have like a similar resource. But the official quote from one of the health officers was, the decision was driven by the need for access to drinking water in the downtown area in the context of many closed services and climbing temperatures. I mean, by April, it's not usually super hot here, but yeah.
But it's warming up, and there's some
Yeah.
warmer days, and you need water even if it's
Yeah.
a cold day. So
Well, and I think from the sound of it, they were able to kind of in that period of time, they were able to sort of learn, I mean, just the tip of the iceberg. Like we really didn't know anything about COVID at that
Yeah.
point. But in that month, it seems like they were able to determine that it was not being detected in drinking water. And they determined it was basically really low risk using the fountains in terms of
interesting.
transmission. So
okay.
something. I just realized too, I said tip of the iceberg about the Titanic.
Oh, weird.
That was very unconscious, but I was like,
Yeah.
well, I think we thought at certain points, like, oh, we're starting to understand this COVID thing. And then it was like, bitch, hold my beer.
Yeah. Witch hold my cauldron.
Exactly. Exactly.
And here are our iconic Benson bubblers.
Hi, Bubbler.
So, when Simon Benson built this grand, beautiful hotel, he was also, again, involved in the temperance movement, the prohibition that we started way, way before the rest of the United States. And it was reported that once when he saw a drunkard on the street, he asked the man, "Why do you have no self-esteem? Why do you have no self-control?" To fall prey to the demon drink. And the guy basically said, "Well, because you can't get a decent glass of water in this town." So Mr. Benson donated enough of 30 of these drinking fountains throughout the area along here. Some of them are as grand as 6 arms. Some are as small as a single arm, but the 4 are pretty standard. This is hooked up to our city water. Yay! You can play with it. You can drink it, but in the days of COVID and stuff, maybe whatever. Yep.
I'm gonna give her a try.
Yep. So these are really
Yeah,
cool.
get it.
Oh, if you want, I'll do it more than once. I'm dry mouth.
There you go. Drink, 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 drink.
I've never done that before.
Well, I'm very proud of you. You were a brave toaster. Yeah.
I've lived here my whole life.
So the ladies of the temperance movement, they would walk the streets, Chinatown, Japantown, the worst parts of Portland. They would have their beautiful white dresses on, their black temperance sashes. They would have their Bibles, a silver chain with a hammer, and they would walk the streets. And if they came upon a drunkard on the streets, they would surround them, open their Bibles, invite them to join them in prayer and renounce the demon drink. If
I would like to take communion.
right, if they were refused, then they'd simply turn to another part of their Bibles, intone a brief prayer, and then as they surround the gentleman with their hammers, they would intone, "It is better to be dead on the streets of Portland than drunk on the streets of Portland," and
Hard disagree.
bop on their head, leaving the man lifeless on the streets, and they went to find their next soul to save.
No.
Damn.
Right?
They're not saving you.
Crazy. Let's go over here.
So we continue on our tour and we stop at a few banks, which is interesting. We stop at like 3 different banks. So the first one has a robbery story, which is pretty intense.
Rolling tones.
And so this tells you the amount of money that came through Portland in the turn of the century after the 1900s, where, yeah, you have big banks. You got banks in Salem, but you don't have as big banks and buildings as here. Now, this modern U.S. Bank building that is all a parking structure, when there was a building there, wicked, haunted, and I'm going to take you around there, tell you some ghost stories from there. This used to be the entrance to a branch bank. This is where a bank robbery occurred.
Did I walk in front of you?
It was the classic, the robber comes in, brandishes a gun, it's a stick-up, tosses the pillowcase to the first teller, holds the gun, and she starts emptying as he moves down. Then the few people here, there wasn't a guard back then, give me your wallets, rings, all that kind of stuff. He gets to the last teller. She decides, hey, Pacific Northwest, I can take him. So she goes over the counter, is wrestling with the guy through the lobby. She gets the gun from him and shoots him, but he takes out a knife and stabs her in the neck.
Oh, I thought it would be another gun.
No. So she reels back against elevator shaft 2. The doors open. She falls back into the car that then ascends up to the 3rd floor where the person that called for the elevator, the doors open and there she is. So that's how they knew that the robbery had happened, because the door opens, the guy that called the car, he sees her arterial spray dripping, and then they saw what all had happened down there. The robber ran out but was apprehended. She obviously had died. Now, she is not seen in any way, with the exception of the elevators have now been replaced and removed, but from that day on, elevator 2, that bank, would never work properly. The door would open to the lobby, go up to the 3rd floor, that's right, open, close, and then just go back down again. They had it checked out so much, they said there is nothing mechanically or electrically wrong with that elevator. The first one worked fine, always did, and things. So now, down below here, this is all event space and it's empty. Last week was a happening week for tours, and a guy pulled up and he stopped and rolled down his window and he said, I work in that building. It's crazy haunted. Whoa. But I couldn't ask specifics, so I'm going to tell you another story, and that's around the corner.
Okay. The next one we stop at is the Wells Fargo building. And that's the one where it had those huge gates.
Yeah.
Those gorgeous gates.
They were beautiful.
And we walk up to them and we're like looking inside, you know, we're kind of pushing on the gates, and all of a sudden it goes creak. And Caitlin's like, these open.
Did I do that with my mind?
Probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, because we're like, I wish we could get up closer. And then all of a sudden they're like, creak.
She was like, yeah, they're locked at this time of night.
They should be locked.
Yeah. But
because it's like a little like in between way. So there's this big like iron gate, I assume. I don't know what it's made out of. And then glass doors behind it. And you know, Portland, there's some things that happen at night. So I assume they close the gates so that people don't break the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were open. So we go in there and we're looking around, and then all of a sudden Caitlin's like, creak. I'm going to close us in. We're like, oh my God, if we get locked in here, can you imagine? What do we say to the police? We're ghost hunting. And
it was soups an accident.
But we didn't get locked in though. We did not. She was just kidding.
Yeah.
She would never lock us in.
No. You kidding me? No. No, I get hungry like every 60 minutes. Like that would be such a mistake.
Yeah, totally.
Although you could probably Uber Eats to the little causeway.
They could fit the bags through the
or toss it over, you know?
I'm like, does it go over? Like, or was it attached at the top? We'll see in the footage.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but
I feel like we could figure something out.
Just feed you through the little the holes in the gate. Let's not focus on getting out. Let's just focus on how we're going to eat when we're stuck.
Well, listen, you have to have your priorities,
you know,
and that would have been mine.
These are security gates from when this building was first done. So if you, during the daytime, you can walk in there and you will look, and that's the lobby where the bank branch was, but it's since been redone. At least
they're opening.
But now it's just kind of an empty space, and it's been modernized and things, but that's where the teller windows were.
Wow.
If you shut that door, I'm going to kick your butt.
Don't get us locked in. So one of the stops I didn't really think I would care about as much or really like. I was like, okay, who cares? Was the Scientology building.
Oh,
but it was actually pretty interesting. And then she told kind of a funny about what haunts the place. But then me being me, I was like, there's cameras. Okay. There's lots of cameras.
Yeah. Our cameras were not the only cameras. They have cameras.
And I was like, oh, should I flip off this camera and say, fuck you, Tom Cruise? Yeah, why not? Why not?
I can think of a lot of reasons why. I feel like this is coming from someone who has not watched like the Leah Remini.
No, I watched it. It. And
well, then that is a choice.
This is why I'm terrified that I'm being hunted.
She's like, I knew it was dumb and that's why I'm scared.
So I wanted to tell everybody and make sure everybody knows. So if I go missing, we know who did it.
Help me, Jesus.
Contact
Help
what's her
Tom
butt? What was her
Cruise.
name? What's her name?
Leah Remini.
Thank you.
I think.
I cannot say it. That's a crazy documentary. So I am slightly terrified. I don't know what possessed me to do that. Maybe it was the tiny ghost of Tom Cruise. We don't know.
I mean, could be. Yeah.
I was kind of bouncy that day. So
we were out in public. So like, I guess unless you came across like an inflatable couch or something, you didn't have the option of doing the full Tommy dance. But
I did up on the roof. Spoiler alert. I did stand on the like kind of built-in couchy
built-in bench
situation.
Yeah.
Kind of counts.
Yeah. All right.
Every Scientology office on the planet, or Scientology building, has L. Ron Hubbard's office in it.
Oh.
Now, I've not heard of anything haunting the building. Trust me.
Yeah.
There it goes. There's haunting. But there's an entity that has been seen here, and it appears to be a small miniature Tom Cruise. I'm not making this up, ma'am. My question
Are
is...
you sure? Because if you were going to make up something simply for my amusement,
that would be it.
that would do it.
But here's
Tom
my
Cruise.
point. How do we know it's not actually Tom Cruise?
Right.
Because he's cute and he's
like
little.
and he's miniature.
Exactly. The
Like, right
camera
now, he would be
adds
so
a
severely
couple of
threatened by
feet,
me.
right?
Do you think he's
Yeah.
listening right now?
No, of course. It's Scientology.
obviously.
Hey,
Can I flip
Love
off
your
the
movies,
camera?
Tom.
Yeah. So, fuck you, Tom
They're gonna get joining the witness protection.
Right.
Dude, I might have to now. A couple other places we stopped at to talk about the Shanghai Tunnels. We stopped at kind of like an empty lot that was fenced off and overgrown between a couple buildings.
Yeah.
And there was like an entrance to the tunnels down there. We got to hear about that. Ooh, what is this?
Now, this is a big old pit, big
It's a
hole in
hole.
the ground.
Look at that hole.
Now we're going to start the story and the history of the Shanghai Tunnels. Now, I'm sure you know the stories, so fill me in. Give me the basics.
There's tunnels, and they took people and drugged them and put them on the ships to make them work.
Got it. I'm liking it. We're going to fill in the how-tos. I like to give my guests enough background that although I discourage it, it is a lucrative side hustle, and in today's economy, every little bit helps. Okay?
I mean, I think they say that human trafficking is like a multi-billion-dollar industry, so
Let's get some of that.
Yeah, I'm just
now,
saying, like, I want my cut.
Right? So here's the part of our story where all the modern day ills that not only Portland but any American city struggle with. It's the same ills that we struggled with 150, 200 years ago. Addiction, the working poor, racism, horrid, ridiculous laws that really targeted groups of people and was really cruel and hellacious. Thankfully, if those laws are still on the books, and many are, they have other laws that supersede and overwrite them. So that's where our laws and things, you don't take a law off the books, you just make it no longer relevant.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So,
That's why it's like illegal to have ice cream on a Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, why would they name it a Sunday?
Exactly.
Begs the question.
So, when I'm talking about the history stuff, I'm wildly simplifying it. Wildly, okay?
Perfect.
We do it all the
Little
time.
Tiny
Okay.
lady pea brain.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, where this empty lot is, and there's a lot of empty lots around here because they no longer are buildable for modern buildings, okay? This is too small of a footprint. Modern buildings are going to wipe out all of this block and then build.
I don't know. I'd live here.
Right? Yeah, it's got a nice lawn.
You guys, it is for sale.
I know, right? And
So
you
I'm
did
just
just
saying.
get married.
Pod
So,
compound.
right. Right. So, when we're talking about the Shanghai Tunnels, we're talking about a connection of tunnels that would link up to basements and cellars all over the city. And the reason that they did that is back in the day, the surface streets, ew, muddy,
Yeah.
gross, ugh.
Ew.
Socially, we had the working poor, the indentured servitude of the Chinese immigrants that when they were essentially tricked to come over here to the United States
Help
to
us build a railroad.
build
It'll
the
be
railroads.
And then we'll bury you
Exactly.
in unmarked graves in Lone Forest Cemetery.
Yeah. And it was easy to get them over here because China was having a famine, a drought. Their rice crops had failed, and so you have a lot of desperate Chinese bachelors, and some of them that brought family over here.
yeah.
So they are working like the loggers and the miners as well with company stores. So you might be, a Chinese person may earn like $1 over a ridiculously long time. They're not paying them like the white men, but they're not paying the white men very well. But you have the company store you have to buy all your stuff from, so you can never really get ahead.
Yeah.
So
No, you just get further and further behind historically.
Exactly. So now let's put in some really racist laws pertaining only to the Chinese. I'm going to get to some others, but one of them was the Chinese Exclusion Act. Chinese people could not own buildings. They could not own businesses unless they vended to other Chinese people. So that's where you would get your Japan towns and Chinatowns and all
make
of
sense.
this. They're going to be in the older parts of the city because those are the places that were built first, but they always are the raggedy, and so as the cities build, hey, we get the good, cool buildings up over here. Well, the way Portland was set up, we just kind of let the riffraff police themselves, run themselves, fight themselves. Nobody really cared because they're not quality citizens like the rich, white, Christian-based, Yankee merchant mentality, wealthy men
It's a very
from back
specific
east.
subsect.
Yes. Now,
Boo.
the wealthy men that built Portland and its corruption in the 1800s did not come over the Oregon Trail.
No.
They came from wealthy families, and oftentimes they were referred to as remittance men. So when they're young and they're wealthy families, they start going to college or start doing businessy things, and they will have a scandal so bad that they are literally paid by their families to never get closer than the Midwest. They're paid to disappear. Jonathan Bourne
over the Rockies
was one such individual. He was very wealthy. He was from New Bedford, and something happened when he went to college that his family bundled his ass up to a whaling ship.
Oh no.
He was on a whaler for a year or so, but then he made it to Portland, and with all his mad stacks of cash back east, he had a wonderful political career of stuffing ballot boxes, getting drunk sailors and people to vote, do all these kind of things. He was instrumental in getting the police under the control of Salem and all of this, and other men too. So, with the Chinese Exclusion Act, the Chinese couldn't work, and so when the tunnels were put in so that a horse and wagon could be under the streets, they would offload the ocean-going ships, and that's how they would deliver things to all the buildings, because in their cellars they would have an opening that would be locked, and then you're delivering, somebody would open, and then they'd bring it here.
There was a parking lot that we stopped at.
So we're going to start about the oldest haunts. Remember back in the 1700s when the Pacific Northwest is just getting discovered and everything, and everybody's looking for the Northwest Passage. Everybody knows that there's got to be a way to go up the West Coast and cross Canada somehow, find the Great Lakes, and poop yourself out on the Atlantic, right? It has to happen.
Totally.
There isn't a passage, but we found all kinds of beavers and all the kind of fur-bearing animals. Their fur was so much better and superior than what was being used in the day. That is what put the Pacific Northwest on the map.
Oh.
And a fun fact is the stovepipe hats that they would have in the 1800s, you were a status symbol the taller the hat was. And so milliners could now get those cool stovetop heights because of our beaver pelt fur and the type of animals from here, that it made a better type
it's a better
hat.
pelt.
Yeah, all the way around. Go USA! All right, so now when all the Europeans are coming through here, this, most likely that area, was the traditional camping ground of northern Chinook tribes, Native Americans of this area. They were very peaceful when the immigrants came, when the first explorers came up here. They were accommodating. They're a peaceful band and things, but their campsite most likely was over there, but city fathers say, no, it was over here. We don't believe that because the EMFs go nuts here, but they don't over there.
Oh.
Interesting.
And the reason for that would be is when they were falling victim to the smallpox
I
and
was
the
gonna say, the
measles and all of
blankets.
that. This was before the blankets and kind of during that kind of a thing. But what they would do is they dug a big old hole here, and then they threw the dead and dying Indians in, set it on fire, and then kept throwing all of their belongings, everything, until it all burned down. And then we covered it up and tried to put buildings up here. Well, there's never been a building that is successful here. They've burned down now. This has used to be all wood buildings. That burned down. They rebuilt them in wood. That burned down again. Then, now we start the brick that you see all around. But even with brick buildings, no business could really thrive here. There's been grocery stores, there's been barbers, there's been a small bank, there's been this, that, and the other thing. A saloon. If a saloon can't make it in this town, right?
Drinking in good times and in bad.
Now, here's the cool story with that haunt. It's a residual haunt, so it does not interact with people, but
Fair enough. They're like, that didn't work out well.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what time of the year we are here, they appear as though it must be summer because they're in their summer clothes, bare, the men, bare arms, bare chest, bare legs. They've got the breech clouts or the leggings or something. The women have, you can see that they've got the distinctive buckskin dress, the fringe, but again, they've got bare arms and moccasins rather than, the leggings they would have worn if it were colder.
Right.
So what happens, and it usually happens about 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, you will see a brownish sepia-toned cloud form in the middle of that street as it floats. As it starts crossing the sidewalk, you'll start see a head, an arm, and a leg. And as it crosses the arrow, it becomes a band of Native Americans. They are clean. They appear healthy. They appear peaceful. I get goosebumps because they're standing and walking close as if they're a loving family or a band. And so you can hear them sort of talk, but you can't make out what they're saying, but you don't necessarily hear English. So it may be a dialect of patois or so, but it is not English. They don't interact with you. If they pass you, you get that bone chill feeling, but it's as though they are reliving a moment of peace and happiness before white men came and effed it all up.
Yeah.
So that's the part of that story I love, that despite all the horrors that were done to the First Nations all over, this band in eternity is that loving familial, that Native Americans, nobody tells that story,
Right.
So I think, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I think that's just cool. So they had a horrible end, but their goodness survives them.
I still feel good about my decision not to park.
And this is because along here is our gallows. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for bringing up that topic. Yeah. So, gallows would have been permanent structures. That's a Hollywood thing, where they show the condemned man going out looking at through the bars and they're building things. No. Now, a lot of gallows may be an enclosed building, but oftentimes they wouldn't have a...
well, they were public executions most often.
We did, yeah. And so there would be times where they don't have any walls. Mm-hmm. They may have 3 walls or not a roof or something, and the floors always have a bunch of holes in them. So you know how that happens. But
we actually just talked about a case where they talked about a prisoner who was set to be executed. His cell was at gallows level, and I was like, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
What's this now? And I'm like, so the whole time he probably he's not watching the building.
Yeah.
He's seeing them.
Yeah.
Everybody moving about the space, and
the
gallows are just there.
Yeah.
Just give him a good old look-see.
Yeah. And in some places, now, I have not found what our gallows looked like, so I cannot tell you whether they are completely enclosed, but I know in many cities they were open air. It was like a fair. You'd bring your parents, your kids, grandma, grandpa, the picnic.
Bring the kids.
Yeah,
grab a funnel cake.
They're gonna be selling beer, popcorn or whatever. And then in a town like Portland, of course, you're gonna get the gambling and all of that. Who's gonna crack? Who's gonna curse God and country before they put the hood over his head?
Yeah, you get the over-under.
Yeah. Who's gonna break and beg for mercy before the noose goes over their neck? Or when they drop, how long till they stop kicking?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Haven't even it.
Yeah. So this is why
they didn't have HBO.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of creepy things happen in this parking lot. Let's go find another drink. Let's go to Kells.
Yeah.
Have you guys been down to Kells Cigar Room?
Yes. Well, on the first Booze and Booze tour I went on years and years and years ago.
I went down there on my 21st birthday. I think I vaguely remember.
Yeah, well, if you've done your 21st birthday right, you shouldn't remember.
I know. You know what I do vaguely remember is that my life lesson from that evening was don't drink Midori sours and then eat buttermilk ranch.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Lessons were learned.
They sure were. Yeah. Life skills, people.
So then we went to the Kells and we got to walk through all of the people enjoying their delicious smelling food.
Oh my God.
There was beautiful, kind of Irishy music playing, right?
Yeah, I felt like they were kind of, obviously not St. Paddy's Day. It's not like the season, but I feel like they kind of do like a folksy
folksy type is what I was thinking. Like live music, not just playing through the speakers.
Yeah.
So then we go down to the cigar room, which is in the basement. We get to learn all about that.
Yeah.
And when Lori is starting to tell us about these spooky stories, what happened, Caitlin? What did you say?
I do not recall.
I think you do.
The fifth.
I think you know what I'm talking about. So she's telling us a story of this smoky entity that's down there. And what did you see right before that?
Well, okay, so I am constantly putting in eye drops, and there was no one else down there. Period. Not even just no one smoking in there actively. Like we were the only ones down there.
Just the four of us.
Just the four of us. And I kept looking kind of past her as we were headed towards the other end, where the staircase was on the opposite side of the room. And I just kept seeing there's something cloudy. I really I put in eye drops 2 or 3 times when we were down there because whenever I have something on my contact.
Right.
It wasn't on my contact.
Oh no.
Because as soon as we went upstairs, I never had an issue again after that.
Oh, so you saw like a blurry something.
Yeah.
Was it moving?
It did at a point, and then it just kind of disappeared.
Ugh.
Which was why I was maybe it's just my contact but I was no.
The smoke dispersed.
Yeah, it was very strange. I was I had already been seeing it, and then she starts talking about it, and I was
oh God.
Yeah. And
Get me out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially when she was talking about it and kind of describing it, then Chris and I were oh, that's kind of like the thing from Lost. And she was yeah, actually a lot like that. And I was okay.
Kells Irish Pub it's a have-to stop in Portland any time of the year, but especially around St. Patrick's Day. They have done great things with it's the Irish spirit. As soon as you walk into Kells, you feel that you are transported back to a saloon of the 1800s, and you are, in fact. The building that Kells is in started off two sides of the building. It's merged into one big one. But the center stairway that leads to the upstairs is original to the original building, but you have to access that stairway, for most parts, from the street, go up that stairway to the second floor. The owners of the building, the owners of the business, have never experienced anything paranormal, anything unusual. In fact, they kind of peek their heads around the corners when different tour guides are going, and they'll make a joke of, I have to listen to the stories of the things I'm supposed to be scared of, and then we laugh and things. So Kells is on the block right next to the creepy parking lot between Oak and Pine. Okay, so there's been theories that whatever negative entities that hang around from the Shanghai Tunnels, from the waterfront, all of that, from the human trafficking and all of those entities, can be a negative spirit that may have been seen in the form of a smoky column, like the size of a person moving from one doorway to another. So I kind of imagine, if you remember that show Lost in the 2000s or whatever, where the smoke monster. So imagine something like that. But then the famous haunt is actually our hero, and that was our beloved fire chief from City Fire Department number 1, David Campbell. He tragically and bravely lost his life battling an arson blaze that had started in the early morning hours of 1911 across the Willamette River at the old Union Oil storage depot.
There was a fire at the oil storage place?
Yeah.
That's real bad.
This is where you cue the music for the silent movies of the 1900s, where you see the horses running up with the steam pumps and things, and the gallant men figuring out, try to fight a fire in a building that's made of brick, and all the wood structures, such as your staircases, your roof trusses and things, are made of wood, and so everything's about ready to fail on you. And so David Campbell asked for volunteers. 6 brave men stepped forward. The word and the report was that David led these 6 men into the inferno with the hopes, he had an idea, maybe they could take poles or so and take a brick wall and see if through sheer brute force they could push this wall onto the blaze, and hope that when the building collapsed, it helps put out the fire. But as soon as they got approaching to this key area, they heard a tremendous crack, and David Campbell knew, as they all did, the building was beginning to fail right then. So David Campbell commanded the volunteers to turn around and escape, which they did. All 6 men ran out of the building. They were able to safely cross the street, get around the corner of the building directly across the street from the oil depot, one of the last men, he poked his head around the corner. He saw Fire Chief Campbell just as he emerged from the depth of the building, illuminated in the doorway when the explosion happened and the building collapsed down on David Campbell. All of the other firemen and standbyers, nobody was injured. David Campbell was the only fatality. The top of the storage silo landed 2 miles away. Detritus and splinters from the explosion rained down on Portland. David Campbell's funeral was the largest to be ever attended. Up till then was a prominent woman that had a business out of what's now the Society Hotel. The ghost of David Campbell has never been seen at the original city fire department. It is rumored that building is very, very haunted, as is the building that the current Department 1 fire department building is very, very haunted. But David Campbell has been seen on many occasions at Kells, and he shows himself to other firemen as a full-bodied apparition. So it happens so frequently that it's been reported if you are a fireman or an EMT or somebody and you're drinking a beer, you will look up and see David Campbell either dressed in his firefight turnouts, drinking a beer, or he may be in his fire captain's clothing. And if he sees you, he hoists his beer that you hoist, you drink, he puts his drink down, you put your drink down, and when you turn and look back, he's gone. There's a modern day poster. We had a bare knuckles fight club here in Portland that at the time of his death, these boxing matches happened in the cellars of all businesses and saloons in Portland, St. John's, all around. It was reported at the time of his death, he was the reigning champion. And in Kells, there is a poster of an event, I think that happened in like 1990 or something, where there's 2 boxers, the gentleman in the black leotards and the bare chest who's facing towards the other boxer is the visage of David Campbell. So when you see this reported haunt, that picture was based on, I believe, his obituary picture. And so people recognize that's David Campbell.
That is so cool that they have that to like reference back to.
Yeah. He's also been seen looking off in a corner, looking sort of stern. Then they think that's him hanging around Kells if there's any negative entities, or because the cigar room is part of the tunnels complexes and all of that, you get that feeling of the tunnels. And that's where the night manager of Kells, I believe his name's Jonathan, he didn't believe in ghosts, but he was down in the cigar room at Kells closing out the charge machine down there. As he's waiting for it to spool, he looks up into the mirror, and standing to his right, slightly behind him, is the reflection of a guy. He turned and looked. There was nobody there, but he still was in the mirror.
Ooh.
Then he disappeared. So that guy's a believer. So
you gotta be now.
Yeah. That's what's so cool about whether you work at these places or frequent these places, sometimes they have to get to know you a little bit before they'll start revealing themselves to you. And oftentimes they're like trickster spirits or things. And, but they don't want to scare you. They don't want to drive you from the businesses. So that's what I love is, if you come with a spirit of fun, they're willing to welcome you too. So David Campbell is kind of my little would-be boyfriend. Boom, boom.
That's so sweet. So you don't think that the smoke entity and him are the same, even though they appear in the same area?
No. And other things that you hear are like player pianos and that kind of thing. So not everything's a demon. Not everything that appears big and nasty is scary. You respect it. I don't provoke things. And that's one of the philosophies on our tours is, I tell my guests on my tours, I treat them as performances that are including the kindred souls on the streets. And so you're going to draw to you. And so some people, I've had the last couple of weeks, I've been having some pretty wild experiences. And so have my guests. I saw a partial body apparition from the knees down, the knees and shoes, and the feeling of being approached. A couple of people have felt odd things in their chest and emotions and things. So, 'tis the season.
Whoa.
It's the streets are heating up, baby.
And then at the end of the night, as things were winding down, we kind of were going to this place where she wanted to take us on the roof. And they were closed. And we were like, oh man, bummer. And then someone comes out and is like, hey, Lori, do you want to go up to the roof with your group? And we're like, yes, yes, we do. What kind of question is that? Of course we want to go to the roof. I'm punching my mic.
We're so nervous. We have all of the hand movements.
See the bounciness I'm talking about? Tom Cruise is in me somewhere.
Oh.
So we go up to the roof and it's just got not the most gorgeous view. I'm sure there's more better views. Portland, but it has a gorgeous view of Portland.
Yeah.
It's
a cool area too.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot to look out on that's like maybe not in the traditional sense, like the most scenic of views, but it's visually so interesting.
Yeah.
It really kind of captures on like the skyline, like how kind of cool the city of Portland is.
All the sparkling lights. Yeah. It was gorgeous.
Artsy fartsy stuff on the sides of buildings and whatnot.
So up on this roof, we do the tarot reading.
Yeah.
And we get just the most perfect card that you'll hear all about it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was the perfect end to the night. It was calming up there. It just kind of like wrapped everything up, especially when we did like the interpretation of the tarot. It wrapped everything up nicely. Yeah. And then we walked down. I don't know if the audio was very good in the stairwell we were walking down, but we kept going down the stairs. We took the elevator up and then we took the stairs down. And like they were so uneven because as you go down, it like gets older and older feeling. It's like wooden stairs. They're all like uneven. So I was getting like crazy vertigo.
Yeah, it makes
nausea.
you feel like seasick.
Yeah. And I'm so sensitive
because you're trying
to like movement.
Yeah, you're trying so hard to like sort of steady yourself.
Yeah.
It's very unnerving, but there was so much cool shit all over, like decorating the walls.
Yeah, articles and old photos. There was a thing on the like
there's a little
stairs.
Like, alcove.
Yeah, an
underneath
alcove.
the stairs. Yeah.
It had like old suitcases and like a bird, like an old dead bird with eggs and a nest. I thought that was my favorite part. Of course, I bring that up.
A very unique specimen.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
I am not a card shuffler. I just can't. So when I do that, I just kind of do this slab shuffle, and if
We'll
they start
fan it
popping
out
up,
and have her pick it.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. Chris, give us your energy too.
A little bit more enthusiasm, Chris. Eeny, beeny, jelly beanie. The spirits are about to speak. How many are we?
We usually just pull one, but it's up to you if you're feeling
Well,
more.
yeah, we'll see
I
what.
felt a little tingly.
7 of Cups. It is
Emotions.
new possibilities, fantasy, illusion, meditation, and decisions.
Oh.
Also associated with Venus, the number 7, Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. Water.
Did you pull it upright?
Yeah.
So cups are what? Emotions. That's intuition. It's so with the
Water.
intuition and things that goes back to the Romani stuff. The water, well, you know, the ships and things. Is that an alien?
It looks like a ghost coming out of the cup.
Sweet spirits. Woo! So all of the people that lost their lives.
There's a dragon. These images are so small, but there's like a snake, a dragon.
So that iconography is very good because remember, in Chinese lore,
Yeah.
a dragon is a very powerful protector. It's a very powerful defender, but also is a strong ally in battle, personal battles and things. We have outside this building, Old Portland tried to put together a Chinese effigy to honor the history. So this was like in the 80s or something. The ornamental street lights, the red Chinese, those were put in 86, 87. Our ornamental Chinese gate was put in 86, 87. So at about this time...
Right before the Year of the Dragon.
Exactly. I did not know that, but yeah.
I was born in 88.
So, here on this kind of weird closed streets, they tried to put together a art installation that was, they got an artist from, I think, Seattle who had no Chinese background. He didn't do any Chinese research or so. So he takes the dragon image and he, in essence, puts a big metal spiked collar on it, put it in a fierce position, chained it down, and he was saying something about, oh, this shows how the symbolism of the strength and the power of the Chinese people. But it looked a lot like if you set out to take the Chinese dragon and turn it into something hideous, it would be like, oh, let's make a sculpture of a bald eagle. Let's chain it, spread eagle it, and then take the American flag and stick it up its butt.
God.
It was basically, like that. So the Chinese community was aghast when they unveiled
like, we don't love it.
Right. So then word was that when they tried to change it around, they had another ceremony. This time the sculptures are covered. And so when the ceremony starts, the covers came down. It's the same sculpture, but here guys with chainsaws are now cutting the dragon's head off. And now everybody's going, can you just stop trying to honor the Chinese people because you're doing it so bad?
Yeah, you're really bad at it.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem right.
So,
Yeah.
where that was before 2019 and everything, there were times it was supposed to be now gas-powered flames. Kind of like eternal flame things, and then the riots happened, and we can set things on fire with this. So now we even lost that.
We
We cannot have nice things.
No, we can't.
No. But I'm liking the dragon, the ghost, the water.
Did you
the
Google
cup,
it?
everything.
Yeah. So some symbols on the 7 of Cups card and their possible meanings include castle or tower can represent power, stability, or one's native land.
Oh, we're talking a lot about power and stuff.
Yeah.
And native
Treasure
land.
hoard can
the
represent
desire to
wealth.
go to your native land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can represent wealth and abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Laurel wreath can represent victory, honor, and status. Skull-like shadow on the cup
Oh.
can point to the dangers of vanity and pride.
Oh my gosh.
Dragon can symbolize evil, anger, envy, and calamity.
Oh, we talked about like all of this stuff today.
Exactly.
We got like the perfect card with all of these different
That's right.
symbols.
This is
and things.
interesting. I've never heard this about cups, but it makes sense thinking about this almost being like a place of spiritual guidance in a way with the Romani.
Exactly.
In feudal times, cups were a symbol of the clergy. So cup cards can also be interpreted as having to do with spiritual or religious matters.
Oh.
Sweet. Cool.
Never know.
There was that dude yelling at us about God on the street on our way over
Again,
here.
the cycle of life. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling ya.
Well, we didn't really acknowledge the fact that we were wearing costumes other than we played with my worm at the beginning, but
I suppose we are.
because Halloween is in just a few days.
Yeah.
This comes out on, I think, the 29th.
Excellent.
So we thought we'd dress up for you. We did a Patreon bonus. We're going to do a normal bonus for the normals.
For everybody.
For the normies on the normie feed.
I love that. On the normie feed.
And we're going to stay dressed up. We're just dressed up for all three of these things today.
Just dressing it up.
And Caitlin didn't have a costume, so she copied me.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, I can just wear my witch hat and one of my witchy shirts. And then I went back into the closet and I was like, oh, fuck. Until you showed up and you actually like put on your Beetlejuice. Yeah. I was like, oh, shit. I've had this shirt in my closet forever. It was just like given to me randomly. I've never really worn it. And I was like, oh, it was meant for this moment.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I do like to match with people, so
it's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Well, should we get out of here and let everyone have like their fun Halloween time this week?
Are we not their fun Halloween time?
We're definitely part of it.
Okay. Well,
but we can't entertain you all week. You got to go find your own business to do.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, we do still have day jobs, so
we busy.
Yeah. Whatever you guys can do to help us with that.
Have a creepy ass Halloween. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yes.
Where Halloween will be over and everyone will be sad again.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And boy, Cassie, I really appreciated hanging out with you guys and the rest of your listeners. I'm out. Have a creepy ass day, everybody.
And happy birthday, Lori. I know it was your birthday a couple of days ago.
It was on Sunday and it was the best. So
good.
Yeah, it's all eights and aces for me this October.